Today, as in 1970 that I described yesterday, the battle over accountability is joined again. The issue is the Vermont Climate Council's Clean Heat Standard. As passed by the House, the unelected Public Utility Commission would have unlimited power to force heating oil, natural gas, and propane consumers to pay unlimited amounts of higher fuel prices to get rid of fossil fuels for heating. From the advocate's point of view, the bill has the great advantage that no legislator will ever vote on it and risk facing the wrath of the voters. Governor Scott has long opposed any regressive carbon tax, for that is what the Clean Heat Standard amounts to, as an unaffordable and unacceptable burden on the poor, working people, retirees, town and city governments, hospitals, schools, churches, and businesses large and small. In a regrettable but realistic concession to the large Democratic majorities in House and Senate, Scott seems willing to let H715 become law if, before taking effect, the final scheme is approved by a majority of legislators in the House and Senate. Scott's view is contained in the Check Back Amendment to be offered in the Senate. It states, the Clean Heat Standard shall not take effect until an act accepting the March 15, 2023 report on projected costs and benefits of the Clean Heat Standard is passed by the General Assembly and becomes law. More on this tomorrow. This is John McClory. Thanks for listening.
Hey, it's Alexandra Montgomery
and Dom Amato from Channel 3 this morning.
Start your day off with us from 4:30 a.m. till 7 a.m. tomorrow.
We're kicking off your day with what happened overnight
and what's going to happen for the rest of the day,
so you know the most answers to today's questions before you get started.
And the biggest question for most people is the weather, right, Gare?
Yep, Gary Sadowski here. I'm working to give you the maximum advantage to prepare you for whatever Mother Nature throws at us.
News, weather, and sports.
Getting the answers to start your day is what we do best.
Channel 3 News,
first in news.
Hi, I'm Yvonne from VSECU, a credit union for everybody in Vermont. I think people will be surprised that VSECU offers loans for more than just new and used cars. We finance all types of recreational vehicles, including bikes. Bicycle commuting is popular in Vermont. Mountain, cargo, or electric bikes. We've developed a special financing program to meet the needs of enthusiasts and conscientious people who'd rather transport themselves with dual pedals. You can rely on VSECU when visiting a car dealership and when you're at a local bike shop. Get pre-approved or just come see us after your purchase and we'll finance your new mode of transportation. Finding ways to empower our members who are contributing to their health, local communities, and the well-being of our environment is just another reason why we exist. Make change simply by banking with VSECU. Let's empower possibilities together at VSECU.com.
Federally insured by the NCUA.
Get lasting joint pain relief without surgery, without drugs, without downtime. New options are now available here. Regenerative treatments at QC Kinetics. I'm talking about Biologic Therapies. This is the most exciting medical development in years. These remarkable regenerative treatments actually encourage your own body to help heal the damaged tissue in your joints. Pro athletes have done this for years. Now it's available for folks like us. If you've been struggling with knee, back, shoulder, or hip pain, arthritis pain of any kind, you need to check out this exciting natural alternative with incredible patient satisfaction results. Restorative Biologic Therapies at QC Kinetics. Effective treatments for chronic joint pain with no drugs and no surgery. Call for a free consultation now. Learn about all the regenerative options available to help you get pain-free. Call the local medical professionals at QC Kinetics, 802-PAINLESS. That's 802-PAINLESS.
WDEV also serves the Northeast Kingdom at 101.9, W270BR Island Pond. The Brady Farkas Show is produced and funded by WDEV and the Radio Vermont Group. We welcome listener feedback. Email your comments to WDEV@radiovermont.com.
The teams you care about.
The Patriots are now closer to the bottom of the AFC than the top. That's a fact.
The stories that matter to you.
Trevor Story, man, he makes the Red Sox much, much better in 2022.
This is your home for New England sports.
I'm just wondering what happens next for UVA, because I think there could be a lot of turnover on that roster.
This is the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
What's up, everybody? Brady Farkas Show here on a Thursday on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. Full show tonight, all 90 minutes up until 7 o'clock. Then we've got a WDEV at 90 celebration with Jack Donovan. Then we got Jazz with George Thomas. George Thomas is here right now, like 9 hours before he goes on the air. George, have some dinner or something. Why don't you? He's brought a donut with him here. Those donuts are like 4 days old. I don't know that you want that donut, George. So, yeah, we had donuts brought in on like Monday, and George is trying to eat one. I can't let him have it as good as it was at one point. So we got a ton to get to. Buster Olney's going to join us live here in about 15 minutes. We'll talk about the Debo Samuel stuff, that the Patriots should make a move on him, a little bit about the draft. We got a ton of stuff you can get in on the Napa Morrisville, Napa Waterbury text line 802-585-3026, your locally owned Napa stores in Waterbury and Morrisville. Also Facebook Live, YouTube Live, and at WDEV Radio Brady on Twitter as well.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And here we go.
The opening thoughts in the Brady Farkas Show are brought to you by Sticks and Stuff and Swanton Lumber, Vermont's most complete locally owned home center. Locations in Enosburg, Derby, Middlesex, St. Albans, and at Swanton Lumber. They're online at sticksandstuff.com. 3 things won that game for the Celtics last night. And by the way, that was an incredible game also. It was incredible in a different way than game 1 was, but it was incredible in its own right. It was a slog at times. It was very physical. It's what playoff basketball is all about. It wasn't pretty. It reminded you of old-time playoff games. Some of you, it reminded you of games in the 80s. I loved it. Celtics come back from double digits down. They win it 114-107, and they now have a commanding 2-0 series lead as the series shifts to Brooklyn. I said there's 3 things that won the game for Boston. Number 1, unequivocally, the Celtics played defense with an intense physicality. That is the reason, the main reason that this team won. That was last night. Was something you just don't see in the NBA usually. The regular season is all about speed. It's all about finesse. It's all about fun. In the playoffs yesterday, the Boston Celtics made that game a fist fight. They are doing all they can to make life uncomfortable for Nets players, particularly Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. Stan Van Gundy said it best last night on the TNT broadcast. Durant thinks at times that he's one-on-one. He's never one-on-one. The Celtics always have somebody there. They always have somebody lurking. They have just blanketed Durant through these 2 games. They are defending him hard out high. They are doubling him. They're helping on the backside. They are in his shorts at every turn, and it is having a noticeable effect. He is getting almost no clean looks, and everything Durant does is just hard. Durant was 4 for 17 from the floor last night. I thought he would hit those tough shots last night, which he didn't do in game 1. I was wrong. They have made life so tough for him, he is getting no clean looks. He still scored yesterday. He had 18 free throws made, so he still got his points. But he scored less than double figures when you take out the free throws. 4 for 17. He also had 6 turnovers yesterday. It's just hard.
Nets down 1-0 with Durant. Left to right, lost the handle. Out of bounds. Turnover, Brooklyn. 6 turnovers for the 2nd straight game for Kevin Durant.
The Celtics defense was so smothering. Kevin Durant is so good. You think he can beat almost any coverage, that there's nothing you can do to defend him, that he can win any matchup that you have for him, and he just has not been able to do it. And Nets head coach Steve Nash acknowledged just how hard things have been.
Well, I think they're being physical. They're up and into him, grabbing him, holding him, all that stuff that you come to expect. has been uncomfortable. He doesn't look like he's been able to quite get his rhythm.
That's just shocking to hear, really. That's usually not the kind of thing that a coach admits. Nash is telling you that right now, we don't have an answer for this. We haven't seen this level of intensity yet. Durant has seen every kind of coverage possible in his career. He always has an answer. Right now, he doesn't. I haven't seen a modern NBA defense play this aggressive and be this swarming in ever. Like, I'm sure it's happened. The Draymond Warriors could play good defense, or at least Draymond and Iguodala themselves could. But, like, team-wide, this is as suffocating a defensive performance as I can remember. And they made life tough for Kyrie, too. He was just 4 of 13 from the floor, had just 10 points. Marcus Smart was in his grill all night long. Just a masterful performance from the C's defensively, especially in the second half. Peter in Williston on the Napa-Morrisville, Napa-Waterbury text line. Udoka and the Celtics plan to defend KD. It's so similar to what Bill Belichick does. Take away what you do best. It's very impressive. I said there were 3 reasons the Celtics won this game. Reason number 2, they won because of, quote, the other guys. I said yesterday, right as we got off the air, I didn't think the Celtics could win this game by just relying on Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. And it turns out that they couldn't. The Nets made life, to their credit, equally as tough on the Celtics 2 stars. Those guys didn't get going until the fourth quarter. The Celtics do not come back in this game, and they do not finish this game off without the contributions of Al Horford, Grant Williams, Daniel Tice, Peyton Pritchard. Al Horford had 16. Grant Williams had 17, including going 3 of 3 from behind the arc. Pritchard, who barely played, it felt like, until the fourth quarter, he gets 10 points in total, and he hit tough shots too.
Richard, Tatum, got Kyrie on him. Irving trying to use the body. Richard off the bounce, crosses over, takes it. Got it! God! Are you kidding me?
The Celtics cannot win this game yesterday without that kind of productivity. The Nets also got production from their other guys. They got some tough shots from Patty Mills. Bruce Brown was great offensively, especially in the first quarter. We saw what Goran Dragic could do. So this became a battle of our other guys against your other guys, and the Celtics' other guys were able to stand up and were able to get this team back in the game, and Jaylen Brown knew it.
They got to be aggressive. They got to make plays. Like, if they're gonna treat them like they're a non-basketball player, and then they're not gonna pay attention to them, they got to attack. We give them the confidence to go and be themselves. Peyton came out, didn't play much in game 1, but had an impact in game 1, and came back in game 2 ready to go and made some big plays down the stretch in the fourth quarter. That was amazing.
Reason number 3 the Celtics won this game was Jaylen Brown. It's a perfect segue into reason number 3. The Celtics won this game with physicality on defense, contributions from the other guys, and number 3, Jaylen Brown. He finished with a 10-point fourth quarter. He carried the team offensively in the fourth quarter in a series that is supposed to be all about Jason Tatum's ascendance into the upper crust of the NBA elite. The fourth quarter was about Brown. He proved that he was really, really good too. He hit threes. He finished through contact at the rim. He did everything when the Celtics needed it most.
Outside the ground. Whoa!
What a great game. I mean, yesterday in game 1-2, it goes to show you that in the NBA, it's truly never over, because we thought the Celtics had game 1 in the bag and they blew it. We thought that the Nets had game 2 in the bag and they blew it, or the other teams came back, however you want to phrase it. But There were times yesterday where you thought the Celtics were going to get run out of the gym, but they just keep coming. They just keep coming back. The other guys get going offensively. The defense ratchets it up a notch. Then the crowd gets into it. I mean, it was an unreal environment. I mean, you hear that? That's the Celtics have the ball in the fourth quarter. That's the Pritchard highlight that we played, but it was just an unreal environment. 20,000 fans just losing their lungs, losing it at Kyrie, getting into it on the, on every Durant turnover, every hustle play the team made. Last night was awesome. Game 3 is going to be different. I would expect Brooklyn to win. You're not going to sweep a team like this. You're not going to run them out of the gym on their home floor. But if the Celtics can steal one in Brooklyn, they can come back and close this thing out in 5 at the Garden. And given how nervous, at least I was about this series, what an accomplishment that would be. It's the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. I get a reminder also, don't forget about Robert Williams. He's getting closer and closer to his return. That he is. Ime Udoka said yesterday that he's playing 3-on-3, doing some scrimmage work, and looks pretty good. He certainly should fit into the 4 to 6 week timeline that was originally projected for him. So when Robert Williams comes back, this team is going to get even more intimidating, especially defensively. You know what's not intimidating right now? The Red Sox offense. Sox offense goes AWOL for 8+ innings today against the Blue Jays. They end up losing by a score of 3-2. We'll break it all down with Buster Olney, ESPN MLB Insider, going to be with us next on the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV.
WDEV at 90 is underwritten by Northfield Savings Bank. They're the bank of you and everything you do at nsbvt.com. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. Celebrating 90 years. WDEV.
Tonight at 7 o'clock, WDEV celebrates its 90th year by taking you back to July of 1980 with Rick Norcross and the Bottom Dollar Band. Join us for a Vintage Vermont Live with Rick Norcross and the Bottom Dollar Band tonight at 7 on WDEV AM and FM and streaming at WDEVradio.com.
Even when we can't be together, Vermonters know we can count on community. Now more than ever, we need to invest in that community. When you invest in Vermont with the Vermont Community Loan Fund, you're investing in Vermonters. Vermonters working the land, growing local food. Vermonters growing local businesses and creating quality jobs. Vermonters building community, one affordable home at a time. And Vermonters educating and caring for the next generation of Vermonters. The Vermont Community Loan Fund's impact investors are investing in equity, access, and opportunity for all Vermonters. A Vermont that lives up to its promise. A Vermont for all Vermonters. Join us. You can invest in Vermont with the Vermont Community Loan Fund. Learn more at investinvermont.org. That's investinvermont.org.
Hi, everyone. This is Jess Langlois
and Chief Meteorologist Dan Dowling
from the Channel 3 Max Advantage Weather Team, reminding you that every day we are tracking the weather and getting you the most accurate forecast.
From the most experienced weather team tonight from 4 to 7 and at 11 p.m.
We forecast with straight talk and no hype.
So you can take advantage of the clear days
and have the advantage over stormy weather.
There's a 100% chance of accurate, experienced, and trusted forecast
tonight and every night from the Channel 3 Max Advantage Weather Team.
First in weather.
Want Brady to hear your opinion on the sports stories of the day? Text in at 802-585-3026.
All the insight into everything going on in baseball. It's time for our weekly conversation with ESPN Baseball Insider and Vermont native, Buster Olney.
I'm just about ready to bet the family farm in Vermont.
On the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show, right here on WDEV AM and FM and WDEVradio.com. Time for the Buster Olney Show here on WDEV. ESPN MLB Insider is with us now. Red Sox lose today by a score of 3-2. Kevin Gausman was awesome in this game for the Blue Jays. Sox pitched it pretty well as well, but all in all, they lose 2 out of 3 to their division rivals. Buster, how are you?
I'm doing great. I was in awe of Kevin Gossman's stuff today and how dominant that split-finger fastball was. And to hear Kevin Youkilis on the Red Sox broadcast, his reactions on some of those pitches, like, ooh, you can tell, like, Youkilis is glad that he's retired and wasn't in the box against Gossman's splitter today.
Well, there's so many different directions we can go. One, what do we know about J.D. Martinez? He leaves last night's game with an adductor strain, did not play today, doesn't look that serious, but this team cannot afford to lose one of its principal pieces offensively because right now, even at full strength, their offense is lagging, and then the lineup they had out there today certainly didn't inspire a lot of confidence.
No, and I can't tell you, or I don't know, how serious that they think the injury is. I know that, early in the season, teams tend to be really conservative with their handling of injuries, and maybe that's the case here. But the reality is JD's in an age where, you're going to have issues like that. And you're right, they're having an issue with offense, but I still think, it's great to be able to watch these early season games. They're playing a lot of games early in the afternoon. But you see all the players wrapped up, in hoods and caps and, thick wear because it's so cold. And so it's not only when you look at the Red Sox offensive numbers are down, like across baseball offensive numbers are down. And it does feel like it's been unusually cold for a lot of these teams early in the season, and the hitting conditions are not great. And on top of that, Brady, I also think, that hitters more than pitchers may have been affected by the shortened spring. That their rhythm of their preparation for how they get ready for a season was really affected by the lockout, by the truncated spring training. And instead of having, one at-bat for a week and then two at-bats for a week, they immediately were jumping into it. Across the board, you're seeing a lot of players with batting averages down.
We're not a Blue Jays station, but I will ask you a Blue Jays related, kind of two-for question here. One, why was George Springer in that game? Because he looked super uncomfortable swinging in the two at-bats that he got. And two, what happened to Kevin Biggio? Because he was one of the can't-miss kids for Toronto, and he's one for the season right now. Yeah.
And I know, I had a conversation with Cavan's agent before the season started, and I asked because he sort of injury plagued last year. And I said, how's he feeling? And he said, he's ready to go. He's glad he's finally in a position where he can come back. And this is someone who, early in his career, in his first year, he thought, okay, this is the player on a year-to-year basis. He's going to have a high on-base percentage. He's going to have a high impact. And it just hasn't worked out. Early in the season, it just might be that it's just a slow start for him. And with George Springer, I can tell you this, a lot of conversations through the years when George was with the Astros with A.J. Hinch, who was the manager of Houston at the time, and he'd always talk about how George wanted to be in there, and George would go to the manager and A.J. and say, if you don't let me in, I'm going to fight you today. And I suspect that as a veteran guy on that team, on a getaway day game, which is there'd be some veteran players who would take an easy out and not want to play. Maybe George thought it was important that he actually be in the game. Even if he was, compromised, and certainly after being hit by the pitch last night, that looked nasty.
Yeah.
I was really worried for him that it was going to be more serious than it was. Maybe he just thought, that's part of the grind of the season, and I need to be in there in an important game against one of their biggest rivals.
Buster Olney, ESPN MLB Insider here on the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM and FM and WDEVradio.com. I want to go back to the game last night. Another clunker from Nick Pivetta. Now, it was one bad inning, but again, he lasts just 4 innings after lasting 2 innings his last time out against the Twins. In 3 starts this year, he's got an ERA at over 10. I really thought after last year's postseason run, and he was so dominant out of the bullpen and brought so much energy, I really thought he was going to take off this year, and it just hasn't happened yet. What's your impression of Pivetta?
That it feels like that the line between him being good and bad is incredibly fine.
Yeah.
Doesn't it? Look, when he was with the Phillies, there would be games when he would have dominant stuff for 3 innings, and then something would happen. And among the Phillies staff, they really thought that at times, because he was so competitive, that he would lose his composure on the mound, and he would lose the strike zone, and then he walks off with a crooked pitching line. And then at the end of last year, it was like he was able to channel all that. In watching last night's game, I just thought he was off, where it just felt like his command was just a little bit off. He wasn't entirely comfortable. I think he's advanced past those emotional issues we're talking about, and I think it's just a matter of making in-season adjustments and whatever that is. And I don't know what that would be for him now, but this is something he'll be working on before his next start. Same as Garrett Cole of the Yankees. Like, he's been, Garrett Cole has not been great early this season, and he said after his stinker the other night against Detroit, when he lasted just an inning and 2/3, like, I've got to fix some things, and I know I can. And I think that when I think of Nick Pivetta at the end of last year and how good he was, I feel like that he's fully capable of that sort of an adjustment as we go along here.
Lou Merlone, former Red Sox infielder, now a radio host at WEEI in Boston, he said on Tuesday that he didn't think the Red Sox went all in enough on this season, coming off the fact that they went to the ALCS last year. Do you think that they did enough this offseason?
No. I was surprised, and you and I talked about this at the time, that they weren't more aggressive on Freddie Freeman.
Yeah.
That he would have been a perfect player for that team. And I was a little bit surprised, and I know folks, because I've talked with the Detroit Tigers, they were surprised that they weren't more aggressive in trying to keep Eduardo Rodriguez. And it just, I don't know. It does feel as if they're, sort of tying one hand behind their back financially. You're seeing teams like the Mets and the Dodgers go all in, and so it does jump out when you see the Yankees and the Red Sox sort of hold their financial fire. And I don't know what's happened since 2018 when they won the series and they were the highest payroll in baseball, but it does feel like they're pulling back the financial reins somewhat. And maybe that's part of the transition into Heimblum's administration of this team and running baseball operations, and that they're trying to be like the Dodgers in terms of being smarter with their money, not making mistakes. And let's face it, at the time the Chris Sale deal went down, I think people around baseball were like, whoa, that was not a smart contract. Trying to get away from those type of mistakes and building the roster for the future and being more careful. But I also think that you have to understand your fan base, and you have to be more aggressive when you have the opportunity. And I felt like that there were missed opportunities. The Xander Bogaerts negotiations, to me, are the latest example of that.
Yeah, let's get to that. The report came out that the Sox offered Bogaerts a 4-year, $90 million deal, which is basically just a 1-year, $30 million extension on the deal he already has. Now, there's some debate about whether or not that's true, but enough people have told us that it is, that I believe it. If it is, I find the offer insultingly low, and it almost feels like I thought the same thing with the Yankees and Robinson Cano, 8 years ago. They don't really want him back, but they have to make an offer so they think they're saving face. Do you think there's any truth to my theory?
I can't. There might be some truth to it, because I find the offer to be shocking.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand, and I was texting back and forth with various people in the organization the other day, like, why would you make an offer like that the player is going to reject, and that might make the player unhappy, because he has an opt-out at the end of the year, and because his agent, Scott Boras, to me, a better way to handle it for the Red Sox would have been like, look, it feels like that we're miles apart. Scott always takes his clients into free agency. So you know what? We'll just wait and talk to you at the end of the season, and then you move on. But to give him that that 4th-year potential offer, and have a total package on the table of $90 million, it doesn't make any sense compared to what the rest of the market got.
Yeah.
They just gave Trevor Story $140 million, a year younger than Xander. Javier Baez is, born within days of Xander. They're very close in age. He just got 6 years and $140 million. And Xander is a better player. He's not as good a defender as Javier Baez, but he's clearly a much better offensive player. And Xander is proven in the marketplace. And it does feel like, and I talked to baseball executives around the game this week, and it does feel like that no matter what happens, just the same with Aaron Judge, in the Yankees negotiations, there's no chance the player's going back to the team. Like, you just can't imagine, if Xander has a bad year, he's not going to go back to the Red Sox with his tail between the legs after, an offer that was so far short and so far less than market value. And if he has a big year, there'll be somebody who's going to be happy to pay Xander Bogaerts because he is such a great player.
Buster Olney of ESPN with us here on the Brady Farkas Show, as he is every Thursday on WDEV AM and FM and WDEVradio.com. Yankees game today was filled with some drama. So Miguel Cabrera of the Tigers is going for 3,000 hits. He's one hit away. And as I understand it, the Yankees were up 1-0, and I believe runners were at second and third. And Aaron Boone intentionally walked Cabrera to load the bases. Tigers fans who wanted to see history are up in arms about it. I think it's the right baseball play. I get why everybody's mad about it. How did you view it?
Yeah, absolutely. And, the hitter coming up next, Austin Meadows, is a left-handed hitter, has a history of beating on the Yankees. And they've got a left-hander in the game. There's a huge, right-hander versus left-hander split with Austin Meadows. The clear advantage in that moment, competitive advantage, was to pitch around Mickey.
Yeah.
I actually think it's a great sign of respect for Mickey. Even in an advanced stage, he represents a threat. He's such a smart guy. So Aaron Boone pitched around him. You feel bad for, Tigers fans who paid to be in the ballpark that day. There probably were some kids that were thinking they were going to get to witness history. They might have booed. I don't know why how anyone could criticize Aaron Boone. He was trying to win the game.
Yeah.
He was trying to find a way to, for the Yankees to get out of that inning and to come back and get a W. And the good thing is that, and I look at this immediately after I saw what he did, thankfully the Tigers will continue to play at home in the weekend coming up, and they should be able to get number 3,000 at home.
Buster, I'll get you out of here on this interesting story written by your colleague at ESPN yesterday, Jeff Passan, on the pitch clock and how it's being implemented at the minor league level, and it looks like it's making a pretty significant difference.
And it's awesome. And I know that there are players who can't stand it. They don't like the idea of, having their in-at-bat routines affected by an outside force. A Dustin Pedroia, stepping out of the box, adjusting his gloves, a David Price, taking his time on the mound between pitches as he settles on what he's going to throw. But you know what? In every sport, players are nudged by the clock. And I think it's time for baseball to adjust because it's just gotten out of control. Anybody who watches a video of a game played in the 70s or 80s, it's the first thing that jumps out at you. Like, my goodness, the time between pitches is so much less. The players aren't dawdling as much. And the fact is they're trying to appeal to a younger audience that has a shorter attention span. And if they can get the games to 2:35, 2 hours, 35 minutes, 2 hours, 40 minutes, it would be a boon for the sport. I don't know if you've had this experience in watching, teams that are using the PitchCom system with the transmitter from catcher to the pitcher. Those games move faster. Like, there's a much better pace than there is, for other teams. And it's awesome. And I think baseball really needs to pick up the pace of action. It's not about trying to, interrupt the players' routines. It's about trying to build a better product on television for the younger generation.
Well, hopefully offense is an impact, because if it's a 2.5-hour game, but every game is 1-0, then we just have soccer. So I still need some offense to get into the game. So, Buster, appreciate you. We will talk again in 7 days.
Okay, Brady.
All right, there goes Buster Olney over at ESPN. Red Sox lose today, drop 2 of 3 to the Blue Jays. We'll have the highlights for you in the 6 o'clock hour. When we come back, Lou Merlone, he said that the Red Sox did not do enough this offseason. Buster agrees, and so do I. We'll talk about it next on WDEV.
96.1 WDEV FM Warren, 96.5 W243 AT Barrie, 98.3 W252 CU Montpelier, AM 550 WDEV Waterbury.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Dell Small Business. I'm Linda Kenyon in Washington. President Biden has announced more than $1 billion in new military and economic support for Ukraine. CBS's Natalie Brand.
President Biden says the U.S. will send more powerful weapons to Ukraine, rushing to get the additional assistance there to be used against Russia's latest assault in the eastern part of the country.
This package includes heavy artillery weapons, dozens of howitzers, and 144,000 rounds of ammunition to go with those howitzers.
State Department spokesman Ned Price says some of Russia's actions in the Ukrainian city of Mariupol may be war crimes.
Some of the accounts that are likely to constitute war crimes have emanated from Mariupol. And these tactics, these acts, they really underscore the utter indifference to human life that we've seen Russia's forces demonstrate.
Some Russian figures have been sanctioned by the U.S. and other Western nations. Now Russia is doing the same.
The list includes a wide range of well-known figures, 29 people who are now barred indefinitely from entering Russia. The most prominent name is Vice President Harris. Also on the list, Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg. State Department spokesman Ned Price is included as well. He doesn't seem bothered.
It is nothing less than an accolade to have earned the ire of a government that lies to its own people.
A number of journalists are also on the list, including ABC correspondent George Stephanopoulos. Steve Futterman, CBS News.
The Navy is investigating the suicides of 3 sailors on the aircraft carrier USS George Washington.
In addition to the 3 who died this month, 4 other sailors assigned to the George Washington have died in the past 10 months. And a Navy official says some of them were also suicides.
CBS's David Martin. 5 family members found dead in Duluth, Minnesota.
Duluth police say a suspect shot and killed 4 relatives as they slept before turning the gun on himself. The murder-suicide was discovered after police received a report of a male experiencing a mental health crisis. Duluth City Councilman Eric Forsman knew the family.
I knew Rihanna and her daughter Shyway, and I knew that she sold cookies, and it's horrible.
The victims ranged from age 9 to 47, and a dog was also found dead. Jennifer Kuiper, CBS News.
CNN is shutting down CNN Plus just 1 month after it began.
The larger question is about the streaming world in general. When you look at it and Netflix's disappointing earnings results and dropping subscriber counts, we're starting to see a picture where there is a limit to how many streaming services people are willing to sign up for.
This is CBS News.
Dell Technologies advisors are here with the right Windows PC and tech solutions so you can stop at nothing for your customers. Call an advisor today at 877-ASK-DELL. A start to a simpler experience with Windows 11 Pro.
Circle up, team. We've got status.
Evelyn's marketing consultancy client roster is skyrocketing.
Okay, so this week is a biggie. We've got the pitch and 3 client meetings.
She needs another analyst before her team's free time plummets.
Who's running the competitive analysis on fruit snacks?
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Our hiring platform instantly connects you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Napa know-how. At Napa, we're helping you knock out your bucket list. Because when you buy a Napa bucket for $4.99 and toss 3 or more items inside, you'll save 20% on your bucket full. So whether your bucket list includes restoring a classic, visiting every state, or saving money on the things to get you there, Napa's got your back and your bucket. Turn your shopping list into a bucket list at Napa. Napa know-how. At participating locations, not valid on sale items. Other exclusions apply. Offer ends 4/30/2022.
The Car, Truck, and SUV Challenge is rocking at Lamoille Valley Ford.
Earlier this year, I challenged my 3 teams to sell and order over 700 vehicles by the end of April. With 588 delivered and 112 to go, we're pulling out the stops and doing everything that we can to make deals and reach our goal at Lamoille Valley Ford. Listen to this. With the purchase, lease, or order of any new or pre-owned vehicle at Lamoille Valley Ford, you'll leave with a $500 fuel card today. You can choose between a home heating fuel card or a gas card to be used at the pump. Plus, I want you to know that as one of New England's largest Ford dealers, we're prioritizing all of our special orders to get you and your new Ford as fast as possible. And in addition to the $500 gas card, you'll also get an additional $1,500 order incentive from Ford.
Thanks, Dan. And folks, as always, you'll find the largest selection of new and certified pre-owned Fords in the state at Lamoille Valley Ford. And all of them include a $500 fuel card. So drive Route 14, 15, or 16 at Hardwick and the Car, Truck, and SUV Challenge happening now. And remember, at Lamoille Valley Ford, we know price matters.
The Brady Farkas Show now has an interactive text line, so reach out now at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show here on this Thursday on WDEV AM and FM and WDEVradio.com. Full show today, all 90 minutes, so we go up until 7 o'clock. Red Sox lost in the game you heard earlier this afternoon on DEV. Final score was 3-2. After the show is over, you can check out the full show podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And remember, our interview with Buster Olney will be up there as well. So earlier this week, former Red Sox infielder Lou Merlone had this to say prior to the 2 consecutive losses that the Sox just had against the Blue Jays. Lou said this, I think, on Tuesday. I've wanted to get to it ever since, but we just didn't have time because of our short shows. So, again, Sox have dropped 2 straight. Lou said this prior to these losses about how he doesn't think the Sox did enough this offseason.
I'm still bothered because this was written like 2 weeks ago from one Chris Gasper in the Globe that this was a bridge year. I don't think there's been a more mischaracterization of like what a year is when someone actually called this a bridge year. This is an all-in year. This is like, you should be all in, Heim.
I agree with him. And Buster does too. Buster said he doesn't think the Red Sox did enough this offseason. I agree with him as well. Now, I'm maybe not as angry about it as Lou is, but I do agree with him. There was not enough done. And I've said this from the start. I have said this several times. I love Chaim Bloom. You know that. I think he does a great job at building for the future. I think he's got a great plan for drafting and developing talent and developing the farm system and bringing in waves of talent that can sustain you for year after year. I think all of that is great. But within that plan for the future, you do have to remember that there is a now. And I don't think the Red Sox did enough to address the now. The Trevor Story signing was a very good one. That was an important one. That helped diffuse a lot of the consternation over the Red Sox. But deep down, we know the Sox needed to do more, and they didn't. This team needed another outfielder so that Jackie Bradley Jr. wasn't playing every day, so that Christian Arroyo is not your primary 4th outfielder. Whereas they needed a Saya Suzuki, who is killing it right now for the Chicago Cubs. Michael Conforto is still out there, and the Sox didn't make a move for him. The Sox haven't made a move for him. This team needed more help in the bullpen. They could have traded for Craig Kimbrell. They could have signed Kendall Graveman. They could have brought in Kenley Jansen, and they didn't. They needed another starter. They didn't trade for Sean Manaea. The Padres did. They didn't trade for Chris Bassett. The Mets did. They didn't trade for any of the Reds pitchers. They didn't sign the big fish like Robbie Ray. And Kevin Gausman, the guy who shoved it down your throat for 8 innings today, the Red Sox didn't even call. Gausman said yesterday, before this start, in anticipation of it, he said there were no talks with the Red Sox at all. The future is great, and it's hugely important. But this team got to the ALCS last year, and this is the final year of Kike Hernandez's contract. This is the final year of JD Martinez's contract. This very well could be the last year of Xander Bogaerts. There is no guarantee that you get better next year than you are this year. So last year, Chaim Bloom was able to strike the balance of building and competing at the same time. But this year, I'm with Lou. I don't think enough was done to find that balance this year. And this idea, to Lou's point, that this is a bridge year, I don't think that that's the case either. Last year was a bridge year. Last year was supposed to be the 77-win season, the 84-win season where you missed the playoffs. You massively exceeded expectations last year, and now this team needed to do more. Last year, you overachieved. Ride the wave of that overachieving and get yourself better so you can get back. Last year, the Red Sox benefited from a weak American League. You're not going to do that this year. The American League is so much better this year than it was last year. It's not, even with another playoff spot opened up in your league, it's not going to be easy to get back to the level you were last year. Look around the league. Toronto's good. Tampa's good. The Yankees are good. You're good too. That's 4 teams right there that are all playoff caliber. Detroit is better. They're not going to be a pushover who wins 62 games this year. Chicago's good. Cleveland just swept Chicago. They're okay. Kansas City's not going to lose 100 games. The Twins certainly profile to be better. They just split with you. Out west, Seattle's fine. The Angels appear to be pretty good, and Houston's good. Like, who is really bad in the American League? Baltimore and probably Oakland and maybe Texas. Those are your walkovers. Just looking at last year's roster and saying, hey, we're going to be good enough plus Trevor Story to get back, that was not the way to go. This team needed to address the starting pitching staff in a better, more meaningful way than Michael Wacha and Rich Hill, even though Wacha's been good. Okay, Matt Strom and Jake Diekman, I liked those moves. You know what I would have also liked? Kenley Jansen. You know who I would have loved in the rotation? Carlos Rodon, who signed, I think a 2-year, $50 million deal with the Giants. All those moves were possible, and you didn't make any of them. And this reminds me, now we just had Buster on, but I went and found the clip from last week where Buster said this about the Red Sox.
I think you and I have talked about how Heim still feels like that, in a lot of cases, he's running the Red Sox more like a small market team. And the Trevor Story contract aside, I don't see a lot of evidence to the contrary.
I don't know that I'm willing to go that far. I don't know that I think Chaim Bloom runs the Red Sox like they're a small market team. I think Chaim Bloom is very smart. I think he's economically responsible. I think he's cognizant of how important building the farm system is. I think that is all really going to serve the Red Sox well when you talk about the long-term health of the organization. I do believe he'll spend when it's time to spend. He gets a gold star for spending on Story. He was a big commitment, but there were other moves on the board that could have been made to help this year's team. I think he will spend, but I think he almost wants to clear the deck before he's willing to truly go all in on spending. The future is very important. The now is also important. And that's why it's such a difficult needle to thread. Last year, the Red Sox did it. This year, there was more on the table. And I agree with Lou. This should have been an all-in year. I'm not saying to go spend willy-nilly. I'm not saying to bring back the Pablo Sandoval and Hanley Ramirez contracts. I'm not asking for that. But there were moves on the table. The A's are in a fire sale. You could have had Minaya. You could have had Bassett, and you didn't. The Reds sold off everybody. Why do you not have Jesse Winker like the Mariners got? For one good prospect and two and kind of meh guys. Why do you not have that? I don't know. There were moves to be made, and the Red Sox didn't make them. All right, we do it every single day. Let's get to Who's Saying What?
Whoa. What did he say?
Mac Jones. Good Lord. Mel Kiper's got to slow down on this. Mac Jones ain't going to work, folks. It's not going to work. He's got to come to terms with it. It's not going to work.
They really said that?
Every damn thing is politics and race, and I'm losing my mind over it.
It's time for Who's Saying What on the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Who's Saying What? Brought to you by Vermont Laser Wash. That's Central Vermont's home of unlimited car washes. Unlimited car washes begin at just $20 a month. And if you're not ready to go all the way in yet, how about one free car wash? Just text the word Vermont to the number 30 and then 400. That's 30 and then 400. Let's talk a little bit about the Debo Samuel situation. The 49ers star yesterday said that he wants a trade. He wants out of San Francisco. Jeff Darlington of ESPN broke the story. He spoke a little bit more about it late last night.
Well, Debo Samuel told me today, Field, that he has told the organization he would like to be traded out of San Francisco. This coming after he wiped his social media of all references to San Francisco, but making clear to me that that is the case. He no longer wants to be part of the team. He said he'd like to keep the reasons private for now, but very clear on this, Field. He wants to be out of San Francisco.
So that is interesting. Debo Samuel just wants out. Usually we see pay me or I'm out. Sounds like it's not just about getting more money. Like, that's not enough to entice him to stay. He just wants out. So there's two questions that I have. One, what happened in San Francisco that he wants out so clearly? And two, should the Patriots be willing to make the move to swing big for Debo Samuel? 802-585-3026, Napa Morrisville, Napa Waterbury text line. Do you want to see the Patriots take the swing for Debo Samuel? I'll start with question number one first, which is what happened in San Francisco. We are gathering a little bit about this. Now, while Samuel there in Darlington says that he wants to keep the reasons private, I did read yesterday that Samuel is unhappy with being used as a running back so much. He ran the ball 59 times this past season. I guess he doesn't like this because you're at a bigger risk for injury and therefore a shortened career and therefore long-term health issues and therefore less money that you can earn. So it seems like Debo Samuel wants to go to a place where he is strictly seen as a wide receiver. He does not want to be a guy who gets the ball and has to run with it as a running back and go between the tackles and take big hits and get crunched by linemen and get hit by linebackers really, really hard. That's one that we know right now is out there. Another one that I am wondering about is I wonder if he's unhappy with what the 49ers are doing both to and with Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't know. This is pure speculation from me. Samuel has spoken highly of Jimmy G over the last couple of years, and maybe the idea that Jimmy G will be traded or benched is something that's not appealing to Debo Samuel. Maybe he doesn't think that Trey Lance is any good. Maybe he doesn't think that Trey Lance is ready. Maybe Jimmy G is just his guy. I think that that's a possible part of the story. I don't know. I think it's possible. So that's kind of what happened in San Francisco. He doesn't want to be a running back. That one's out there. And two, I wonder about the relationship with Jimmy G. The second question that I have, and the one that really concerns me more, should the Patriots make a move for Debo Samuel? He's now on the market. We are 1 week away from the draft. The first round of the draft is next Thursday. Should the Patriots make the call? And I thought a lot about this in the last 24 hours. I don't think so. I just don't think so. I say that begrudgingly. I have wanted the Patriots to take a big swing so bad. And this is a big swing. But this is not the swing that I want them to take. I don't think that Debo Samuel would be the right fit. Part of what makes Debo Samuel so good, part of what makes him so valuable, is that ability to be versatile. If he is saying that he doesn't want to do that anymore, then I don't know if that's the player that I want. The player that I love in Debo Samuel is the guy who is a dual threat. He can catch a deep ball He can take a jet sweep. He can take a sweep out of the backfield. He can the whole package of Debo Samuel is what I love. If Debo Samuel is telling you, I don't want to do half of what's made me great, then I'm not as interested, right? I mean, think about it this way. Think about it. Like, I'll use my own career as an example. If I was going to go for a new job, and fine, I'm not, so don't worry. But if I was going to go for a new job that's in the exact same station like this, and I went to them and said, you know what? I don't want to do the news anymore. I only want to do sports. They might not be as interested. Why? Well, we need you to do both news and sports. That's what makes you good. That's what makes you valuable. That's what makes you you. That is why you are unique, because you do sports and you do news. If I said, I don't want to do news anymore, I become less valuable. I become less good. And I become less interesting to that next place. That's where I am at right now with Debo Samuel. What makes him great is his ability to do two different things awesome. If he doesn't want to do both those things, he's less awesome and I'm less interested. And if I'm going to have to trade away a first-round pick, 2 future first-round picks, and give him $30+ million a year in an extension, that's too much of a commitment to a guy who wants to take away half of his skill set. I don't think that is the right swing. DK Metcalf, who I've called for weeks now, he's more of a known commodity. We know what he can do. We know what he wants to do. We know how good he is. Debo Samuel is phenomenal. But if you take away the dual threat ability, is he worth 2 first-round picks plus $30 million a year? I just don't know, and I can't go with I don't know. That is just my thought. For what it's worth, a lot of Patriots Nation does want the Pats to take the swing. Here's Mark Bertrand of 98.5 The Sports Hub in Boston.
I look at Debo Samuel and say he would be such a great fit for a number of reasons. He's big, physical, not afraid of taking on hits. There's so much to love about that player. But in addition to that, he was second in the NFL. You said he was number 1 in yards per catch, right? Yes. He was also number 2 in the NFL in yards after the catch, behind only Cooper Kupp. And so you get the ball into his hands and he makes things happen after the catch, which I think is going to be really important for the growth of Mac Jones.
I get it. Debo Samuel is a game changer, but he's a game changer in his current role. And if he doesn't want to do his current role anymore, it's a tough spot to be in. And now that the Patriots have gotten Devontae Parker, I'm less bullish on them taking that big swing. Not because I think Parker is as good as Tyreek Hill or as good as DK Metcalf. I don't. But they've made a move in the trade market already. Now they can go and finish it off in the draft. The Patriots have 4 wide receivers already that I would say are average to slightly above. They can get the game changer in the draft now. They don't have to get it in the trade market where they're giving up a bunch of stuff and paying a bunch of money. It is the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. Let's continue on that theme. We are a week out from draft night, from the first night of the draft. What do we want the Patriots to do? I'll tell you what I want them to do. That's next on DEV.
The car, truck, and SUV challenge is rocking at Lamoille Valley Ford.
Earlier this year, I challenged my 3 teams to sell and order over 700 vehicles by the end of April. With 588 delivered and 112 to go, we're pulling out the stops and doing everything that we can to make deals and reach our goal at Lamoille Valley Ford. Listen to this. With the purchase, lease, or order of any new or pre-owned vehicle at Lamoille Valley Ford, you'll leave with a $500 fuel card today. You can choose between a home heating fuel card or a gas card to be used at the pump. Plus, I want you to know that as one of New England's largest Ford dealers, we're prioritizing all of our special orders to get you and your new Ford as fast as possible. And in addition to the $500 gas card, you'll also get an additional $1,500 order incentive from Ford.
Thanks, Dan. And folks, as always, you'll find the largest selection of new and certified pre-owned Fords in the state at Lamoille Valley Ford. And all of them include a $500 fuel card. So drive Route 14, 15, or 16 at Hardwick and the car, truck, and SUV challenge happening now. And remember, at Lamoille Valley Ford, we know price matters.
Hi, everyone. This is Jess Langlois.
And Chief Meteorologist Dan Dowling
from the Channel 3 Max Advantage Weather Team, reminding you that every day we are tracking the weather and getting you the most accurate forecast.
For the most experienced weather team tonight from 4 to 7 and at 11 p.m.
We forecast with straight talk and no hype.
So you can take advantage of the clear days
and have the advantage over stormy weather.
There's a 100% chance of accurate, experienced, and trusted forecast
tonight and every night from the Channel 3 Max Advantage Weather Team.
First in weather.
At Union Bank, we've been traveling the back roads and main routes of Vermont and New Hampshire for generations. So when it comes to commercial banking, we have experience, services, and the people to get you where you need to be. Union Bank, stay local, go far. Equal housing lender, member FDIC.
Do you have chronic joint pain, like in your knees and hips? It's time to think about an exciting new way to treat joint pain with Biologic Therapies, Regenerative Solutions. I'm talking about QC Kinetics, now available here. Lots of people here have called QC Kinetics already. They are the nation's leader in helping people deal with chronic pain with no surgery, no drugs, no steroids, and no downtime. These natural pain treatments can actually repair and restore damaged tissue in your joints with long-lasting results. I'm telling you, Biologic Solutions help your body heal itself. If you have joint pain due to arthritis, lower back pain, shoulder pain, you need to change the way you think about pain treatments and discover the Biologic Therapies at QC Kinetics. Get moving again. Get your life back with no surgery and no drugs. Call QC Kinetics now to learn more. 802-PAINLESS. That's 802-PAINLESS.
WDEV at 90 is brought to you in part by New England Municipal Resource Center, NEMRIC, supporting one-of-a-kind local businesses like WDEV to preserve the distinct character of Vermont.
Think you know sports better than Brady does? Text in with your thoughts at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show here on WDEV AM and FM and WDEVradio.com. Celebrating WDEV at 90, coming up at 7 o'clock. It's Jack Donovan and Rick Norcross there, and some great content as we also celebrate Jack Donovan's 50 years as being a part of WDEV. We'll also then have Jazz with George Thomas. That comes on after the special presentation. Our show is brought to you by Pro Driver Training. That's Pro Driver Training, Vermont's premier truck driver training school, online at ProDriverCDL.com. They've got facilities in Enosburg and in Milton, and you can take your next step in your professional career and make it the right one. So that's, again, they can help you with your Class A CDL, your Class B CDL, passenger, and advanced skills training. What do we want the Patriots to do in the NFL draft? 1 week away from the draft's opening night. And the question is, what should the Patriots do? They currently have the number 21 pick in the first round. I am sticking with this thought. The Patriots need to take a wide receiver in the first 2 rounds. Since the trade for Devontae Parker, I'm backing off the idea that it has to be in the first round. I'm willing to bend on that, but they do need a receiver in the first 2 rounds. This is a deep wide receiver class. You can find excellent wide receivers in the second round. Debo Samuel was there, A.J. Brown, DK Metcalf, Terry McLaurin. They were all second-round picks. You need to get a wide receiver in one of the first 2 rounds. If you take a wide receiver early, you will have 5 good wide receivers on your roster. Parker, Kendrick Bourne, Jacoby Myers, Nelson Aguilar, and the guy that you draft. You will have 5 good wide receivers. That helps you with depth to account for injuries, of which we know that Parker has been injury-prone in his career. It gives you a good weapon for Mac Jones to grow with over the long term, and it allows you to spread the field more if you want to. If you want to play 4 wide, if you want to play 5 wide, if you really want to spread it out and throw the football, you can. You're not doing that, though, if that 5th guy is N'Keal Harry or Gunnar Olszewski or Christian Wilkerson or any of the guys that you've had in the last couple of years. Get a wide receiver in the first 2 rounds. I no longer believe that it has to be round 1, pick number 21. By getting Devontae Parker, you have made the need not quite as great. It's still important. You still want to be explosive and dynamic on offense. But if you can do it in the first 2 rounds, then I think that you are covered. Outside of wide receiver, what do I think are the Patriots' biggest needs? Here's what's crazy. I can't identify the Patriots' biggest need because there's so many of them. And that is the problem. The Patriots have a massive need at corner. They have a massive need at linebacker. They have a pretty big need at offensive tackle. They've got needs everywhere. And that is the problem right now with their roster. The really good teams in this league, they're going into the draft saying, we need X. And everything else is a luxury. The Patriots need X, Y, Z, P, and Q. They need a DB. They need a linebacker or 2. They need an edge rusher. They need another wideout. They need an offensive tackle or 2. The Patriots need almost everything. The only thing they don't need, tight end, safety, and they could get by without a running back, although I'm sure they'll take one, and a quarterback. They have a lot of needs here. They have a ton of needs. And that is the problem. That this organization has a lot of holes to fill, that they've left themselves a lot of holes to fill. I was listening to Zolak recently on 98.5 The Sports Stuff. He's like, they got needs everywhere. They've got needs all over the field. Let me quickly address this, by the way. N'Keal Harry, he's done in New England. There's no doubt in my mind he's going to get cut. I guess possibly could get traded for a bag of footballs or something. But he is holding out. I shouldn't say holding out. He's skipping the voluntary offseason program. Not a great look. I know that N'Keal Harry doesn't want to be in New England, right? He asked for a trade last year. He stuck it out and tried to contribute, just wasn't very good. If you want to endear yourself to other teams, I don't know that this is a good look. Like, it's one thing for Kyler Murray to hold out of OTAs. He's going to be fine. It's another thing for N'Keal Harry to not be showing up. You need to make good impressions, and you just haven't made any. N'Keal Harry hasn't made a good impression in a long time, and here he is now sitting out of OTAs. I get you don't want to be there. I understand it. They probably don't want you around either. But what's best for your career is showing up, putting in the work, and making yourself visible so that you can be acquired in a trade. Just a quick thought on that. I want to get back into the Celtics game. It is the Brady Farkas show here on WDEV. Oh, a couple notes on the NBA playoffs. Chris Middleton for the Bucks injured last night. He's got a strained MCL. He's likely to miss games 3 and 4 of that series, which is tied at 1 game apiece. Devin Booker of the Suns might be out 2 full weeks, 2 to 3 weeks even is the report, with that hamstring injury for the Suns. And they're trying to stave off the upset-minded Pelicans, who are at 1 game apiece in that series. So we'll see what happens, but not good for either. The two teams that were in the finals last year, Bucks and Suns, dealing with massive injuries to massively important players. Again, Chris Middleton and Devin Booker. As for tonight, we've got 3 games on tap, all of them out west. Memphis and Minnesota, that's tied at 1. Golden State and Denver. Golden State leads that 2-0. And then the third final game is actually the middle game on your schedule, the Jazz and Mavericks, tied at 1 game apiece. I think Luka Doncic trending towards being able to play in this one, but I don't believe that a decision has been made just yet. Celtics beat the Brooklyn Nets yesterday. Kyrie Irving continues to say weird things after the game. Did you hear what Kyrie said about the Celtics' young core?
No, I'm not surprised at all. I just think the timing is right. Their window is now for these young guys that are on this team that have matured. They've been through series together. They've been through seasons together. They've been through battles together. And I got a chance to experience some of that. And now being on the opposite end and going against a healthy Celtics team, obviously without Robert Williams, but you're just seeing there's a difference in their verve. There's a difference in the way they approach the game. And
those comments were a little weird, right? Can we acknowledge that? 802-585-3026. Am I crazy? Were those comments a little weird? They seemed oddly complimentary, considering you just blew a 15-point lead and are now down 2-0 in the series. I saw a couple of takes that said it's apparent that Kyrie has thrown in the towel. I don't know about that, but those were weird comments, right? Like, you're down 2-0. I wouldn't just be praising my opponents like that. I'd be focusing on myself, on our team, on our issues, rather than just basically throwing up your hands and saying, look, it's their time. That struck me as weird. Like, guys compliment opponents all the time, but you just blew a double-digit lead, and now you're in an 0-2 hole. Seemed like that was a little bit much.
No, I'm not surprised at all. I just think the timing is right. Their window is now for these young guys that are on this team that have matured.
Like, that sounds more like the answer that an analyst would give rather than an opponent. And then Kyrie continued. There was another comment right after that, which was interesting.
And also they have a set offense and defense that they rely on. Ime's been a huge part of that. But you got to give credit to that guy that's sitting in the president's role as well now. That all of a sudden just, we don't get to see him as often. Brad Stevens definitely has a lot to do.
Let me play the beginning again.
And also they have a set offense and defense that they rely on. Ime's been a huge part of that. But
the Celtics have a set offense and defense that they rely on. That is a shot at somebody. I don't quite know who it's a shot at, but it's a shot at somebody. Is Kyrie taking a shot at his own coach in Steve Nash for not having a stable of enough offensive and defensive system? Because if that's the case, that would be pretty rich, considering Kyrie didn't want to play for the guy they had beforehand, whose name now escapes me. But basically, Kyrie didn't want to deal with all the analytics stuff that the Nets were doing. And, Kyrie wanted to run the show. So here he is. They bring in Steve Nash, and basically he's running the show. Kyrie said, do you remember, before they hired Nash, basically, we don't even need a head coach. We'll just do it ourselves. Can we find that clip, somebody from last summer, summer of 2021? We've got it somewhere. Let's see. It's got to be somehow here. It's from the summer. Hold on. Let me see. How about impact of a coach? Oh, impact of Coach K. That's the wrong one. Well, one day we'll find it. But basically, Kyrie said, we don't need a coach. I think it came last summer before Nash was hired. We don't need a coach. I think, so it's one thing after another with Kyrie. Then also, I wonder, even though he praised Brad Stevens, is it a shot at Brad Stevens? Listen again.
And also they have a set offense and defense that they rely on. Ime's been a huge part of that. But
they have a set offense and defense that they rely on. AKA, we didn't have a set offense and defense that we relied on when Brad was the coach. Is this a shot at Nash? Is this a shot at Brad for what they didn't do on what they didn't do when he was here? I don't know, but it's a shot at somebody. I promise you that. Kyrie doesn't say anything that is not calculated. Kyrie thinks he is the smartest guy in every room that he is in. He is absolutely sending a message in everything that he says. That was a message too. I just don't know if he's getting one final lick at Brad or if he's getting a shot at Steve Nash, in which case, if I were Nash, I'd be furious because bottom line, basically, I am doing everything that you ask me to, right? If I'm Nash, I'm doing everything that you asked me to. Yeah, I just, let's see. I'm really trying to find it when Kyrie said that we don't need a coach, but I don't think I'm going to be able to. It came in the summer. It was on a podcast. It was him talking with Durant on a podcast saying that basically we don't need the coach. I remember it specifically. I remember we talked about it. It had to have been in the off season. It was in the off season, I think, 2 years ago. It just don't see it. It's going to be here somewhere, but somewhere it's in this system. I'm not going to be able to find it. So, all right, there we go. It is the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. Red Sox lose. Sox lose to the Blue Jays. We'll play you back the highlights from the game you heard today, and we'll get into a couple of notes on today's loss as well, as the Sox fall now for the second time in as many days to their rivals from north of the border.
Benjamin Moore paints offer long-lasting protection, beauty, and will enhance the value of your home. This is Dean Shedd at the Country Home Center. We only sell premium products, and we only offer premium service. The two go hand in hand. For years, we've chosen Benjamin Moore paint as our premium paint line. Professional painters also choose Benjamin Moore paints for the best results. Come see all the amazing colors and products in our Benjamin Moore paint department at the Country Home Center, junctions of Route 15 and 100, Morrisville, Vermont, or online at countryhomecenter.net.
The car, truck, and SUV challenge is going strong at Lamoille Valley Chevy.
Folks, Dan is right. Earlier this year, we've challenged our teams to sell and order over 700 vehicles by the end of April, and with 588 so far, we still have work to do. Until the end of April, with a purchase, lease, or order of any newer pre-owned vehicle at Lamoille Valley Chevy, you'll leave with a $500 fuel card today. You heard that right. Even if you have to wait for your ordered new Chevy, you get a $500 fuel card today. You can choose between a home heating fuel card or a gas card to be used at the pump. Plus, we want you to know that as the largest Chevy truck dealer in Vermont, we are prioritizing all of our special orders to get you your new Chevy as fast as possible. In the meantime, $500 of your fuel cost is on Lamoille Valley Chevy.
You'll find one of the best selections of new and certified pre-owned Chevys, plus many clean late-model Toyotas, Hondas, and Subarus ready for immediate delivery, and all of them include a $500 fuel card. So drive just past Stowe and Morrisville to the beautiful town of Hyde Park, Vermont, and the car, truck, and SUV challenge happening now at Lamoille Valley Chevy.
With Marvin, selecting the best window and door products has never been easier. From design styles and materials to window and door options that enhance performance, Marvin offers quality replacement products that stand the test of time. Let our Marvin specialists at Sticks and Stuff and Swanton Lumber help make your next replacement project a success. We offer convenient curbside delivery in St. Albans, Enosburg, Swanton, Derby, and Middlesex. Shop, order online, get updated store hours anytime at sticksandstuff.discovermarvin.com.
Hi, everyone. This is Jess Langlois
and Chief Meteorologist Dan Dowling
from the Channel 3 Max Advantage Weather Team, reminding you that every day we are tracking the weather and getting you the most accurate forecast.
From the most experienced weather team tonight from 4 to 7 and at 11 p.m.
We forecast with straight talk and no hype,
so you can take advantage of the clear days
and have the advantage over stormy weather.
There's a 100% chance of accurate, experienced, and trusted forecast
tonight and every night from the Channel 3 Max Advantage Weather Team.
First in weather.
Possibilities are all around us. Everywhere we look, we see opportunity in unexpected places. And when we share our knowledge, vision, and connections, we turn great ideas into action in communities all around the world that we call home. Like transforming an old bus to feed hungry children, or providing life-saving equipment to those who need it most. From fighting disease to rebuilding schools, together we can make real change happen. We're Rotary. We are people of action. Get involved today at rotary.org/action.
Do you want to learn more about the free market perspective on important public policy issues affecting you, your work, and your community? I'm Bill Sayre, and I hope you'll do so by joining me in conversation with Vermont opinion leaders as we discuss how best to make Vermont an ever better and more affordable place to live and work. Common Sense Radio with Bill Sayre, weekdays 11 till noon.
Your chance to be part of the show is on the text line at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Yeah.
Welcome back in. Brady Farkas Show right here on WDEV AM and FM and WDEVradio.com. Red Sox fall today. They lose to the Blue Jays. Final score 3-2. Sox now 6-7 on the year, dipping under 500. The Blue Jays with the win are now 8-5. So the Sox lose 2 out of 3. And this is tough because this is now 2 series in a row where the Red Sox have won the first game of a series and have then had an unsatisfying final result. I mean, the Sox won that first game against, I take that back. They lost the first game to the Twins, then won the 2 on the weekend, and then lost. So the Sox had a chance to win a series and were not able to finish it off. And then in this series, you win game 1, and you're not able to get one of the next 2 to call it a successful series. And at the end of the day, you lose 2 out of 3 at home to a division rival that you're going to be battling with for the entirety of the season. If you're looking for the box score in this one, Blue Jays 3 runs on 9 hits, no errors. Sox 2 runs on 8 hits, no errors. Kevin Gausman gets the win, and Tanner Houck gets the loss. Gausman was great. 8 innings, 7 hits, 1 earned run, no walks, 8 strikeouts. Jordan Romano gets the save in the 9th. He did allow a run and had a walk. As for Houck, he goes 5 innings, allowed 2 earned runs on 3 hits, had 4 strikeouts. Ryan Brazier allowed a run. Well, though, we'll get to that in a second. Austin Davis, Sawamura, Phillips Valdez shut the door as the rest of the bullpen. So let's get to the highlights. Again, the Blue Jays got up 3-0 in this game. So let's take a look at how it transpired. Bo Bichette got things going for the Blue Jays in the 3rd inning to get up by a score of 1-0. So let's see. Here you go, everybody. Yes.
The hit against the Red Sox, especially here. Pitch is routed right side and off the glove of the diving Story into right field. It'll score a run. Tapia to third. It's 1-0 Toronto.
Yeah, that made it 1-0. It got to 2-0 in that same inning. So let's look at it here. Vlad Jr. at the plate.
Here comes the pitch, and he swings and drives one high and deep. Left center field. Verdugo back. Jackie back looking up. Verdugo's circles and makes the catch on the track. Plenty deep enough to score Tapia. And it's 2-0 Toronto, and I think the Red Sox dodged the big-time bullet there because he hit it just a little bit too close to the end of the bat to drive it out.
Yeah, I thought that ball was gone when he first hit it. So, yeah, the Red Sox did dodge one there. But, again, that got him down 2-0. Then things went haywire in a bad way in the 6th. So, Matt Chapman's at the plate. There's 2 outs. And this is what happened to make it 3-0.
The pause by Sawamura. The pitch hit on the ground on the hole on the left side under the glove of both the third baseman and shortstop.
That's not it. Wrong one there. Wait. Okay. No, that is the wrong play here. So let's continue on. Let's find it. This is it.
Here's the pitch. And he swings it, pops it up along the foul line, first base side. Here's the catcher out. The ball's going to drop and a run scores. Throw to third, safe. A routine pop-up between the mound and the first base line, and Shaw was coming in. Vasquez was going out. Easier play for the pitcher. They almost never make a play like that, and the ball dropped, and a run scores from second base.
Yep, that's how it got to 3-0. You end up losing the game by a run. Those are mistakes you cannot have. We've talked a lot about how the Red Sox defense was going to be better this year, right? The outfield defense is strong with Kike. Kike didn't play today, but Kike, Jackie Bradley, Verdugo had been really good in left field, so the defense was going to be better in the outfield. Devers is better in the infield. Dahlbeck's a pretty good defensive first baseman. This team is a good defensive team. That was a bad defensive play. I don't believe it cost you the game, even though you lost the game by a run. It simply is a mistake that you cannot afford to make. And when you give good teams extra chances, like Toronto, then they make you pay for it. And you ultimately lost the game 3-2. And therefore you lost the series. I mean, That play was weird. Look, the ball they said got lost in the wind. Houck could have caught it. Didn't get, they don't let the pitcher catch it, to Joe Castiglione's point. Vasquez, he's backpedaling, trying to catch it. Shaw is the guy, I think, who's really got to make that play. And I didn't even see Trevor Story in the shot. So I think there were a couple guys that did some not so good things on that play. I think Travis Shaw ultimately is the one where the blame resides. He's got to step up, come make that play, and keep it at 2-0. Instead, it goes to 3-0. And then in the ninth inning, the Red Sox started to make some noise. Gausman started the inning, got a leadoff single to start it from Trevor Story. Then you got then they brought in Romano, and I'm trying to remember exactly what went down. Let's see. After Story, Devers walked. Then Bogart singled and did this to make it 3-1. So, guys, can we find our Bogarts highlights here? This is it.
And now he's ready. This pitch hit hard through the hole on the left side, the base hit. Heading toward the corner, stopped on the track by Tapia. Story scores, Devers to third, and Bogarts has a double. And the Red Sox all of a sudden have the tying run in scoring position, and the winning run coming to the plate on Xander's fifth two-base hit of the year.
So there was runners at second and third with nobody out, and then we see Alex Verdugo, who came to the plate, and let's see, Verdugo. These highlights are all in weird order, so let's see here.
Now Chapman starts running toward the bag. On the way to the plate is the pitch. Ground ball hit on the right side, fielded by Bichette. He throws to first for the out, but another run scores. Devers home from third. Bogarts now the tying run at third.
So that made it a score of 3-2. Bobby Dahlbeck then hit a hard ground ball to third. They couldn't get the run in, and then the game ended as Jackie Bradley Jr. was retired. JBJ went 0-for-4 on the day with 2 strikeouts. So Red Sox fall. They're now 6-7. As for some things about the game, it was interesting. Bobby Dahlbeck played third today. Again, Travis Shaw played first. Dahlbeck played third. We have not seen that yet this year. I think they said it was only his 7th game at third base in his career. He actually came up as a third baseman. Generally, I thought Dahlbeck looked pretty good. Fielded a couple of tough balls. Had one throw that kind of went awry that Shaw bailed him out on. But I like the versatility. J.D. Martinez out with an injury today. Devers slides over to DH. That put Dahlbeck at third. I like the versatility. I wish that Christian Arroyo could just play third and that you didn't have to have him out in the outfield today, but nonetheless, that's what they did. But I like that Dahlbeck can play third. I thought that Tanner Houck looked generally pretty good in this one. He only goes 5 innings again, but 3 hits, just the 2 earned runs, just 1 walk, had 4 strikeouts. He threw 71 pitches, 47 of which were strikes. So that means he was 47-24 on strike-to-ball ratio. When I was coaching, we'd say 2-1. That's where you want to be. 2-1 strike-to-ball ratio. That's pretty much exactly what Houck was. You throw enough strikes, you don't give out free passes, good things generally happen to you. You love to see Houck get through 6, but against that lineup, to get through 5 and do not issue free passes, that is a win. And then finally, Alex Cora did not manage this game. Right before the game, he got put on the COVID list. He tested positive. So Christian Vasquez came back today from the COVID list. Jonathan Arauz is back as well. Cora to the COVID list, and he is not going to travel on the road trip beginning tomorrow in Tampa. Do not know if we will see Cora in Toronto next week, but remember, with the Canadian government mandate on vaccinations, we know that Cora is vaccinated, but we have to see how he is. Certainly he can't be positive to go into Canada. We know that Tanner Houck is not going to go to Canada because he is unvaccinated. Therefore, part of the reason I think maybe they pulled him after 5 today is because they're going to use him in relief on Sunday, because they're going to burn him, because if he can't pitch in Toronto, they're going to use him in relief to pitch on Sunday. That probably is part of the reason we did not see him extended out today when maybe he could have. So we don't know yet who else is not going to Canada for the Red Sox, but we know there are others. Alex Cora had confirmed that. So we'll see what happens, but we got to get through 3 games in Tampa first. We'll have coverage tomorrow beginning at 6:10. Saturday is a 5:10 coverage start, and Sunday is 12:10 with the first pitch just after 1 o'clock. So hopefully Alex Cora gets well. Hopefully we are able to see him in Toronto next week. But again, to be determined as it sits right now. No other real news and notes on this game. But Trevor Story was in the leadoff spot today, went 1 for 4. I mean, this was just not a great lineup. You take J.D. Martinez out of it, and Bobby Dolbeck's hitting 5th at 175, JBJ 6th, Vasquez, Shaw, and Arroyo. It's not a lineup that instills a whole lot of confidence, and the offense kind of did what you would expect. Now, you want to see them have some better at-bats against Gausman. I mean, Gausman threw 8 innings, only threw 88 pitches. He was incredibly efficient. He was just mowing them down, and it was not a great lineup for the Sox today. That's going to do it for us here on the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV. Reminder, the full show podcast available on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. You can also check it out at WDEVradio.com. I want to thank Buster Olney of ESPN for stopping by, as he does every Thursday. Buster's full interview will also be up shortly after the show is over. And then, well, we will be back at it again tomorrow with a shorter show getting ready for Sox and Rays. We're going to talk with Jason Churchill of Prospect Insider tomorrow, who I'm very, very excited to speak to for the first time. We've got a special WDEV at 90 presentation. Jack Donovan, Rick Norcross celebrating Jack's 50 years at DEV as well. Jazz with George Thomas comes after that on DEV.
As Vermonters, we know that so much depends on the weather.